Hello, Radiant Lady. Assalamu alaikum. It's your girl Sakina, and I am delighted to have you tune into this episode of the Radiant Woman podcast. Quick one, I have an announcement to make. So, I decided to run the podcast in seasons, and so this episode will be the last one for this season. I'll be taking a break till September 2022, inshallah, and this is to enable me plan better for season 2 and also, invite more amazing guests on the show. In the meantime, please feel free to catch up on previous episodes. So let's get back to today's business. I have the super talented and eloquent Sofiat Peter, and we'll be talking about the journey and process of self growth, personal development, self awareness, and all that good stuff. But before we get into it, allow me to introduce Miss Sophia to you. Safee Peter is a HR professional, TEDx speaker, spoken words artist, communications and branding enthusiast. She's a certified member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management with over 5 years' experience, successfully executing projects across human capital development, innovation, communications, youth empowerment, and the sustainable development goals. In addition, she's a creative with an artful mind, a photographer, writer, poet, a lover of art, and an admirer of nature and all of the wonders it carries. Remember when I said she's super talented? I wasn't fluffing. So without much ado, enjoy our conversation. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Sophia.
Walaikum salam. Hi, Sakina.
Hi, thank you so much for joining the Radiant Woman podcast, and thank you for agreeing to come on the show with me.
You're
I'm
welcome, and
I'm
thank you for
pleased to have
having me too.
Yes, I'm pleased to have you. You know, you're a celebrity. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I beg.
But
It's
I'm
okay
pleased to
now.
have you. Yeah, thank you so much. All right. So I don't want to, let's not take too much time. Let's jump right into
Mm,
it, as we would say, right? So the very first question I have for you is, and yeah, we're talking about, self growth, just the process of like personal development as human beings,
yeah.
basically, right? And the first question that I have for you is, Sophia, if you were to describe yourself in one sentence or one word, whatever it is, how would you describe yourself? And I don't want like labels of like maybe I'm a daughter,
I'm
I'm a
a
wife,
cook.
or
I'm an
yes, no,
HR
no, no.
person.
Exactly. No, no, no,
Okay.
not those labels. Yeah.
All right. So, if I were to describe myself in one word or sentence, I would say, uh, Sophia is a self-driven and self-aware person, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
it. Self-driven and self-aware, and they both work together for me to shape
Mm.
who I am and who I want to become. And that's where the journey begins for me.
Fantastic. Short and concise. Love it. Love it. Love it. And how did you come to that description? Like, I know you said you're self-aware, so I'm guessing like self-awareness has played some parts in that, right? But
Yeah.
yeah. So how did you get into that journey of self-awareness? Did you just wake up like that, or it took a while, or was there a trigger for you?
Well, I would say that there was a trigger, right? It
Okay.
was a process. So, back in primary school, when I was like super younger, I
What?
had,
You just say primary school?
yeah, back in primary school, right? I
Wow.
was
Okay.
I so I've always been aware to an extent of
That's why I'm
myself,
like, did you just say
of
primary
how I
school? Like,
am. Yeah, yeah. So because I mean a lot of times I've had to think back to that journey where it all started. And I
mm-hmm.
remember when I was way younger, before secondary school, I
Yeah.
was this very shy, girl. I
Mm-hmm.
could easily get intimidated, and
Okay.
I was in a place where I really didn't feel like I was all that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, growing up and getting to secondary school, I realized that okay, it's not so bad after all. And
Mm-hmm.
that was when I really started to speak out and speak up. I used to give pep talks in school. That was where it all started from. And
Hmm.
one thing I'm really going to pick out from what I just said right now is sometimes you look at yourself today, right now,
Mm-hmm.
this minute.
Yeah.
everything that you are right now, everything that you
Mhm.
do or that you don't do today, if you
Mhm.
really look back and think back and reflect, you will find something that connects. You just connect the dots and you will see, okay, this is, I see the connection now.
Yeah.
So I
This
remember
is
back
why I
in
did this.
secondary,
Hmm.
I remember back in secondary school,
Yeah.
I was, I mean, yeah, I was doing quite well academically. I was the head girl. And,
Mhm.
I used to, even before I became the head girl, I used to just come. I mean, we were encouraged on Monday mornings during assembly to just come on top of the podium to
Yeah.
give pep talk.
Okay.
And I used to volunteer to do that a lot. I would just find myself writing something and then
Mhm.
sharing it with every student. And I had all of the teachers' attention while I was at it.
Wow.
And that's
Hmm.
where I began to learn that, okay, there is some power in your voice, Safi. There is some
Yeah.
power in the message that you're passing to these guys. They love to listen
Mhm.
to you, they love to hear you, right?
Yeah.
And
There's
that was
value
how
in
it
what
all
she's
began
saying.
for me.
Hmm.
There is
Hmm.
value. And then moving on from secondary school to uni, and then there was this another layer of awareness for me,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I started from the point where I was shy and timid and easily intimidated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then back in secondary school, I started to realize some things about myself that were really cool and amazing. But I still
Mhm.
had that
The
kind
side
of
that. Mhm.
that side that was easily intimidated by people who had more or people who I
Hmm.
felt were better, you
We're
know.
better.
And
Mhm.
then moving on to uni, and I just breathed through uni because really I was all about let me just finish with a good grade, you
Yeah.
know. And
Let me finish
I
and
just wanted to finish with a good
stay
grade, and I
safe.
did just that, and I
Hmm.
left. The
Okay.
the really important parts of my journey, the ones
Mhm.
I've described are the tiny, tiny parts that I
Mhm.
pieced together to say that part was also important to form part
Yeah.
of my journey. I think the most important part of my journey was when I finished uni and I went for my service year. I served in
Mhm.
Kogi State, and I had a lot of not a lot of free time per se, but and there were no cinemas. I couldn't go to the mall. There was nothing
Mhm.
there. Like it was literally just go to work and come back to your
Yeah.
house. There was no social life.
Yeah.
I had some time to just spend doing just
To
I had
get to
time
know
to myself.
yourself. You were stuck with
Yeah, so
yourself,
there was no
basically.
running away to anything. There was no
Yeah.
running away to anything or anyone because
No
I was there,
distractions.
without my
Mhm.
family or friends,
Mhm.
and that was when I started to read. And reading really helped me to expand my mind,
Hmm.
expand how I started to think and
Yeah.
the things that I started to do.
Hmm.
Right. So I started to read a lot about so many things about how to transform your mind and how to just say, okay, uh, this is where I am right now. How do you
Mhm.
take yourself from point A to point B to
Point
point
B.
C?
Mhm.
Just to wrap up answering this question, I think the first book that I read that
Mhm.
really started to make me see things quite differently was, I think, a book
Please
by
don't say The
John C.
Alchemist.
No, 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 not The Alchemist. A book by
Okay.
John C. Maxwell, something about growth, invaluable laws of growth.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think, yeah, invaluable
Hmm.
laws of growth, and that was where it all started for me. So I started to read, and you would be amazed at how much is enclosed in the two covers of a book.
Of a book.
You would
Hmm.
be shocked, you know. So yeah, I think that's like the journey I would describe. So when I say it's a process, it's
Mhm.
that process, yeah.
Yeah, it really is a process, and I really want to touch on, you spoke about reading, and I think this is something that we need to shout at the top of our lungs, right? Because I used
Yeah.
to read as well, but I mean, secondary school, just read random stuff, right? Then university came, and you're just trying to pass. So I stopped
Mm-hmm.
reading for a while, and after that NYSC, got married and everything, and it was just like a blur, when you're just living in like a, should I say, like a trance, or you're just drifting.
Like from
And
one point to the
yeah,
next, to the next, to the next.
exactly. And I think for me, my wake up was when I had my son, and I'm just like, you know what, it's no longer about me alone. There's someone else that I need to role model for. right? And that kind of piqued my
Yeah.
interest. And I am married to someone that reads, right? And I'm just like, you know what, you seem to have things pretty much figured out, and me, I'm just like, just all over the place, like, what is it? So I started
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that something that was missing, and I know that's not the only piece, but something that was missing for me was I wasn't reading um as much as I used to, because I'm a very curious person. So I started reading again, and I can agree with you 100% that reading does expand your mind. So I see a lot of I have a lot of friends, due to so many things, maybe they don't have time to like really sit down. But I think that we need to find ways to try and like carve out time to read. So what I just
Yeah.
do now is, I know I have so many things to do. I have a business, I have a 9 to 5, I have kids and everything, right? So what I just do is, okay, before I go to bed, I just take one chapter or a couple of pages. So I started from, okay, I'm just going to read for 5 minutes in a day. From there, do you understand? So
Mm-hmm.
now it's almost like second nature.
Like a
So
part of you.
exactly. I was speaking to another sister sometime last year, and she was like, "Oh, she just gives up on reading because she never completes it." I'm like, sometimes you don't even need to complete a book. Do you know? Sometimes you just,
You just
there
need a
might be a
part
part.
of it or
Exactly,
something
exactly. So don't
that really speaks to you.
exactly, exactly. So thank you for touching on, like, reading is very important, and it has been very instrumental in your process of growth. So talking
It
about
has.
yeah, so talking about things that have helped you grow, what else would you say has been like maybe essentials, or should I say ingredients, to actually developing as a human being, like having that growth as a human being? I know reading is one of them, clearly. Is there any other thing that you
Yeah.
would say in your own opinion?
I think the desire for it is very, very important. That's where it
Mm,
starts, right?
mm, yeah.
The desire for growth is is absolutely essential for the journey. If you
Mm,
and then beyond desiring it is the willingness to actually do the work,
mm,
right?
mm-hmm,
The
mm-hmm,
willingness to do the work, the self-discipline you need so badly
mm-hmm.
to do the work.
Shots
Like
fired.
your motto or theme or whatever you live by should just be do the work, right?
Hmm.
And when I'm talking about growth, I'm talking about when I'm talking about self awareness, when I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
personal development, you would realize that it is multifaceted. Like you have spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
financial,
Mm-hmm.
physical, like that's your physical health, your
Yeah.
mental health, all around. I'm this
Your
person that,
relationships. Mm.
yeah, so way back in my life, I said to myself, Safi, you're going to live a wholesome, full, meaningful, value driven life,
Preach it,
right?
preach it, preach it. This is like
You are
music to
not
my ears.
going to sit in your room and just wake up and go to work or go to school, then come back and eat and sleep back.
Mm. No
No,
mediocrity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
no. Now I get that. I saw a quote one day. The quote said, some people want to walk, some
Yeah.
people want to run, some people want to jump, and some want to fly. All
Mm.
of them are fine. They are okay,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're someone who wants to jump or run, or you want someone who wants to fly,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to have the mindset of somebody who wants to walk. Someone who wants to run or jump on, and I see this play out in relationships too. For example, like you are a woman or a man and you have a goal, you have an ambition, you're
Mm-hmm.
ambitious, you want to get things done in life, and then you maybe find someone who is, they're just okay with the bare minimum. I have a
Mm-hmm.
decent job that pays me some money. I can afford to feed myself and clothe myself. I'm fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
you are maybe expecting that they're somehow going to want to have that you have. It's not going to work,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're just going
Yeah.
to be frustrated. And it happens with friends and family and also just, it's okay when people want to
Mm.
be how they want to be, but it's
Yeah.
important that you identify how you want to be or who you want to be or where you want to be. And then you
Mm-hmm.
identify the people who are interested in going on that journey too,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So that you can relate with people like that and you won't. um you would have people helping you out. So it's really important. People are important. So like
Yeah.
I said, the willingness to do it,
Mhm.
the discipline it takes to do the work, right? And you want to
Mhm.
have the right people surrounding you. You
Yeah.
really want to have the right people surrounding you. So yeah, I mean, it's inexhaustible, but those are the three I
The
could think
three
of
that you
right now.
can think about. Right. So I think you have shared like three powerful insights, right? But I want to touch on, where you talked about the self discipline. So I know, yeah, the desire is very important, and we'll be surprised that yes, some people actually it takes something to trigger that desire in you, and I think it gets to a point where you're tired of your own bullshit, basically. And I don't know
Yeah,
what it is, but sometimes something just, so like I said, for me it was my son. It was like a veil. You for some time you feel that tugging, like something is off, something needs to change, but there's just something that triggers, and you're just like, you know what, I'm done with this, I need to move, I need
and
to
I need
change
to
from.
move. Yes,
Exactly. So
yes,
that is sorted. Where the problem is doing the work. Like you said, we need to do the work, right? So what
yeah.
steps, or what do you have a system in place that has
Mhm.
helped you over the years to do the work?
Okay. So for me, right, the desire and that desire and the willingness to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
they go together for me. So what I
Mm.
do is I like to do. I'm someone who I don't like to be caught up in the noise. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the higi haga, the rush of the moment.
Yeah, what's
The
trending.
world, yeah, the world
Mm-hmm.
can be loud. It can be
Mm-hmm.
so loud that sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you don't even hear what's going on inside of you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm someone who intentionally takes time away from everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything, right?
Hmm.
Even even when it comes to I'm at that point where I say to myself, nothing is going to take over your life so much that
Mm-hmm.
you would not spend time with yourself,
Yourself. Wow.
working on
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Not even my job,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So there is that as I'm working or as I'm choosing, okay, this is where I'm targeting, I want to work here, or I currently work here. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, how can I balance my work
Mm-hmm.
and myself? Now, this is my work.
Yourself.
Your work, you're not your work. Your work is the job
It's
you
just a
do,
part.
right?
Yeah.
It's just a
Mm-hmm.
part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yourself is like your entire being.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it a point of duty for myself. You're not going to neglect yourself, Sophia,
Yeah.
because that is all you have. You have Allah, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have yourself. The
Yourself.
minute you lose yourself, there is absolutely nothing else that you have
Hmm.
that will make sense to you
Yeah.
or that
Yeah.
will even serve you.
Yeah.
Nothing. You can be surrounded by everything in the world at your disposal. But the
Mm-hmm.
minute you lose yourself, it's pretty much meaningless, useless, and valueless to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, what's the point? So I intentionally set aside time to say, Safi, what are we trying to achieve
Hmm.
in our spirituality? Like in my spirituality, I literally sit down and I say, how is your solar? Are we
Mm-hmm.
doing as much Quran as we should?
We should.
And this is me
Mm-hmm.
talking to myself, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what about tahajjud?
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time you actually prayed tahajjud?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Having honest
when was the last time you
conversations with
watched,
yourself.
yeah, having conversations? Like, when was the last time you watched a video on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
I particularly love, what's the name of this platform? Can't remember right now. But
Yeah,
anyway,
Ken.
uh Yakin Institute, they create a
Yeah.
lot of content that you just
Yeah.
I don't care how busy you are, just plug in your headphones.
Absolutely fabulous.
You're in the
Absolutely
kitchen,
fabulous.
you're cooking. I have this speaker, this portable speaker in my house. I just put
Mm-hmm.
it wherever I'm working, I'm doing chores, I'm
Mm-hmm.
making sure that I am consuming meaningful
Content.
stuff. So
Yeah.
that is one thing that I should have mentioned to you earlier when you talked about
Mm-hmm.
the things you need for self growth. It's
Yeah.
very important. If I don't mention anything else in this podcast, this thing I have to mention it. You have to be
Mm.
intentional about what you consume,
Yeah.
and that affects every aspect of your entire being, of your existence,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I consume things that when those things grow inside of me,
Yeah.
I'm deriving value from
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And I'm
They're
also
making you
giving
better.
out value.
Yeah.
They're making me
Mm-hmm.
better. I'm very careful about consuming things that mess me up, that mess up my mind, that mess up my
Mm-hmm.
body, my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very picky about the things that get inside of me, whether through my eyes or my ears
Mm-hmm.
or the things that just enter into my space, even as much as even people,
Yeah.
the people that I bring into my space, right? The people
Mm.
that allow into my private space and into my own, world, my
Yeah.
own very small world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very intentional about it, right? So
Yeah.
these are some of the things, though. These are some of the very essential things that I really, really have to mention.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with everything that you've said. Knowing who you consume content from, knowing where you consume content from is so so important, because once it gets in, it's there, right? It's just there somewhere in your subconscious,
Sometimes you
and
don't even
those
know where it is. And sometimes
exactly
you
you
don't
don't
even know
know.
how the things you're consuming are driving you to do the things you do and think the way you think. It's
E-
unconscious, I be subconscious, I
Subcon-
don't know, but
exactly, it is the
it just
subconscious, and
affects you in ways that you don't even know,
don't
right?
know. And that's why,
Yeah,
when you mentioned that you intentionally take out time to be with yourself and ask those hard questions, because that's when you are able to, bring things from your subconscious to your conscious, and you're like, this is what is driving what I'm doing. It's very essential. So I think, everyone,
absolutely.
yes, absolutely, everyone should know that, yes, consume content, but be careful on what type of content that you're consuming and from who and what, because there's so many contents out there now. But yeah, may Allah may Allah guide us
And
really.
you know what,
Mm-hmm.
again, I have to mention that these
Mm-hmm.
things they sound very, very little, very insignificant,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
you'll be amazed at how some people are looking at and say, wow, this person is doing amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just wake up and say, I want to do amazing stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
in the little habits, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah.
So if you have the willingness to grow, you want to be self-aware, you want to grow, you want to become a better person in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't end there. It continues with you doing the work. And how do you get yourself to do the work, right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
That's where all of these things come in: self discipline, what you consume. Because when your mind is constantly telling you this is what you need to do, this is what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing wrong, it
Mm-hmm.
drives you to also do those things or not do those things you
Things.
shouldn't do,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it becomes, it's like your whole being. It's
Mm.
coordination that happens between your mind, what your mind continuously processes, or what your
Yeah.
mind continuously thinks about, and
Yeah.
what you end up doing, and how you end up doing those things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very strong relationship between your thoughts and the things that you do
You do.
when you're
Yeah.
someone that is intentional.
Yeah.
If you're not intentional, you will think thoughts and you will have wishful, you will wish you had done this, you will wish you could do
Mm-hmm.
that, and you will just lay on your bed and waste the day away. Do you
Yeah.
get? So
Yeah.
it's just that there's that coordination and that relationship between your mind and the things that you do, your thoughts and your actions. When you
Yeah.
actually know that I want this thing, right, and you're
Mm-hmm.
feeding yourself with the things that empower you and equip you to do those things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah, that's it.
absolutely. And yeah, you need to sit down and, just pause sometimes and just reflect. So when you're consuming content, I find that I tend to, like, should I say, I don't, there's no word like paternize, but like I try to link patterns, right? So it kind of makes it easier.
Mhm.
So for me, I find that I'm a pattern type of person. So I'm trying to link, okay, which one, where can it go into? How does it flow into my life? This kind of thing. So
Mhm.
that's what I think about. And one thing I want to point out, how to anyone that is listening, is sometimes you might feel like you're consuming stuff that, it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes, something is happening. What I keep saying is, keep at it, right? Keep reading the books, keep doing what you have to do. Something is happening under, like, in your subconscious, and before you know
And
it, one day.
engage yourself. Like I
Exactly.
have to add, engage yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
Really, I feel like, to be honest, maybe if yeah, but probably another topic, another time for a podcast. But
Yeah.
I think there needs to be something on the relationship with the self.
Hmm.
That's the
Okay.
strongest, most important relationship, aside your relationship with Allah, which is number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Your relationship with yourself should come next. I cannot overemphasize how life-saving it is that
Hmm.
one has a healthy relationship with themselves. You
So
know when to sit yourself down and talk sense into yourself. You know
yourself.
when to call yourself.
Yeah.
You know when to call yourself out.
Yeah.
You know when to say to yourself, yes, you are doing amazing. You're doing an amazing job, and I am proud of you. You
Yeah.
know when to say to yourself, we need to plan, Safee. We're not making sense right now.
Yeah.
You know when to say to yourself, my job isn't all that. Like
Hmm.
the work I'm doing at work, it can
Mm-hmm.
be better. What
Yeah.
do I need to do to improve my skills?
Yeah.
Right? It drives you to think and do.
Yeah.
There is nobody in the world that would put that inside of you.
Yeah.
That's why you see people consistently going to talk to other people, going to talk to other people, then other people will advise them, give them all
Mm-hmm.
the finest, most beautiful advice in
Yeah.
this world. And they
And they
still
will.
go back and they still like, oh, I didn't really get to do it because you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a relationship with yourself.
So yeah. No self-respect, no self-integrity, right? And it's
Self
very,
awareness, everything is
yeah.
just about the self, you
Yes, and
know.
they're all related. They are all related because I found that. So I did a podcast on my reflections on my 20s, right? And it was quite heart wrenching for me because normally I'm a very introverted person. But it took me a while to get, because I was going through a phase of, some of the decisions I had taken. I was quite
Yeah.
annoyed about them. But it took me, actually just reflecting, thinking about my thought process, what could have been, those underlying patterns that you don't even know that are happening, right? But it took me reflecting and, just coming to a place of acceptance. And it was easier for me to accept it because I had started doing things differently. So now I was taking it from a point of, gratitude for some of the things that had led me to where I was now, right? So it's very important that, I can't action is so key, because by the time you start taking action, there's something that changes within you. You start to see yourself as, someone that is true to themselves, someone that is, um
Yeah.
someone of
Someone that is taking
integrity.
responsibility for
Exactly.
themselves.
Themselves,
Like
and that
taking
just changes.
responsibility for yourself. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just changes everything. And then that, okay, I can actually do things. I'm not someone that just talks and talks and doesn't do anything, end up doing anything,
I
because
know
that.
how to get things done.
Exactly, because that can also lead to a cycle, like a negative cycle. So imagine you going to someone and they give you like the bestest of advice, and you
And you
don't end up
never do
doing anything.
anything.
So it's two things: you beat yourself up, then you can't even face the person as well, because I mean, they too, they will have their own opinions, like, oh, this person that is not even,
This
maybe
person is not
serious or
serious.
something. So it's like, then you
Yes.
now start beating yourself up, that what's wrong with me? I never get to do anything. Why? Just spirals down like that. And
It's a
yeah, I
very
can't
bad
really.
place to be honest.
Yeah, very, 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 very
It's
bad place to be. But
tricky. It's like when
yeah.
I say bad place, not even as the person's fault, because sometimes people don't even know how to bring themselves out of that kind of situation,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's why it's so important that everybody goes, I mean, everyone listening goes out there to really reflect. Your own, I
Yeah.
like to call it your own private corner when nobody is there. Nobody is
Mm-hmm.
hyping you and saying you're so amazing, or nobody is telling you you're not worth anything.
Yeah.
You yourself, what are you telling yourself? It's
So
so important. I don't even know. I don't know how best to describe or even pass on that message.
hmm.
It's something that when you get to that point in your journey of self awareness, you
Mm-hmm.
will know that you have done something for yourself, and you will know
Yeah.
that your life will pretty much never remain the same
The
ever
same.
again.
Yeah. So, Sophia, talking about, people that, how you just said that some people can get themselves out of that loop. Would you say that, I mean, I know a couple of people can go through this process on their own, but when would you
Yeah.
say maybe someone should seek help? Because I know there are a lot of, some people need therapy. That's a different case. Some people
Hmm.
find that, they do better with accountability, however it might be with family or friends or with a coach. But would
Yeah.
you do you have any like tips or insights for, like, when do you know that you help?
Okay. I think that once you realize that you're struggling over and over again
Mm-hmm.
with the things that you want to do,
Hmm.
then first of all, there is a fundamental, very in-depth problem already, which
Yeah.
is the fact that maybe the energy, the
Mm-hmm.
drive to do the things that you need to do are not
Mm-hmm.
there,
Yeah.
right? That drive, that energy that you so badly need, you want to have it. You know what you need to do, but you just can't get yourself to
Do
do it.
it.
And to be
Mm-hmm.
honest, it happens to most of us. Like
Mm-hmm.
we dream about things that we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We think about things we want to achieve, but we
Yeah.
don't really get ourselves up to do it. I think it's really important when you get to that point to know that okay, you need to do something extra. Perhaps
Hmm.
depending on what the problem is, though. Won't
Yeah.
say I'm a specialist in this area because it's a
Yeah.
deeply, I don't know how what word to use, right? But
Mm.
it's a thing of the mind,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's just someone being lazy. I say
Yeah.
lazy because I've been there.
We've all been there. Trust me. I'm even still there
Sometimes
sometimes. I'm
you're
still
just
there.
plain
Like,
lazy,
so
and
yeah.
in those times, it's important to be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
tell there was a time I made dua about it.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, anything laziness, just anything that just keeps me away from doing the things I need to do, doing the
To
work I
do.
need to do to get to the places I want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Like y'all, just take it away from me. That
Mm-hmm.
laziness was on my dua list this last Ramadan.
Mashallah.
For you to know
Mashallah.
that
That's, yeah.
it's not sometimes it's
It's
not
real,
you that
oh.
will
It's real. Mm-hmm.
it's not that you don't want it, but
Yeah.
then something is holding you back. I just
Exactly.
you're just not willing to. Some people, like you said, might need to speak with someone. Some people
Mm-hmm.
might need some other form of assistance or help.
Yeah.
But for some of us, some people
Mm-hmm.
like me, my category, especially when you know that it's something you are capable of doing.
Yeah,
It's not
because
a
you
matter of
naturally
I
are
don't think I can do
self-driven.
it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So when
Yeah.
you realize that you know yourself and you know these are the things that no now I can't
On
do
the
this
normal.
thing. If I
Mm-hmm.
want to do it, I will do it. But then there's the energy or whatever it is that is supposed to come and make me do it. Not I'm not
It's
getting
not
it done.
there. Yeah.
That's when I know that okay, I'm actually being lazy. Sometimes I allow myself to just take a breather and just say,
Yep.
you know what, Safi, chill. You know
Just
what?
yeah.
Just chill. Forget about all
Yeah.
these things for now.
Yeah.
And then other times I tell myself, you actually need to get to work.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just do
Because
it. And when I pray about it, just
mm-hmm.
make dua. I make dua a lot about different things.
Yeah,
I
so
just pray. And there's something about praying, about making dua. It
mm,
just, at least you know you're conscious enough to identify that there's a problem somewhere. And you
yeah.
now speak to Allah about it. Number one. But you say if you not want to disappoint because why are you praying about something and you're not
Yeah,
putting in
now
effort.
exactly. You're not
Hello,
taking the
sis.
steps. Yeah.
Like, okay, so okay, now you're afraid. Mashallah, sister. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
get up,
You
get up,
have to tie your
get
camel. You have
up.
to do the work.
Okay, carry your laptop now and start typing those words that you need to,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you need to do. So
Yeah.
trust me, it all works together. It all
Mm.
works together, and then you also have to give your I know the word grace, giving yourself
Yeah.
the grace to just go
Sometimes
through that
slack.
process,
Yes, exactly. But
right?
yeah.
Sometimes you just go through that process. You just,
Mm-hmm.
you slack a bit, you fire on a little, you slow
Mm-hmm.
down a bit, you fire on some more. Just
Uh,
just make sure you are moving.
yeah.
And then in months or weeks, depending on what your timeline is, you're
Mm-hmm.
looking back and you're saying, I have done something for myself.
No. No.
Honestly, if I'm looking at somebody beside you and they've done times 20 of what you've done, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at somebody on the other side, they've done not even up to a quarter of
Of
what
what
you've
you.
done. What matters is that you look back and you say to yourself, me, as
Yeah.
I am in my space
I've
like
made
this,
progress.
regardless of
Mm-hmm.
what anybody has done, I
Mm-hmm.
have made progress and I am
Yeah.
proud of myself. I am happy. And
Yeah.
now I'm going to now do more.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
such a
why I
beautiful
said
place to
all of
be.
these things. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying that that point is such a beautiful space to be, knowing that
Hey,
regardless of what everybody has done, you know that you have made process and progress. You've taken action, and you are not where you used to be, and it only gets better from there. So,
honestly, it does. And I have to mention before you move on,
hmm,
sorry, Tekina,
yeah.
the fact that it's not about, I like to say that there's some victories, there's
Mm-hmm.
some accomplishments that
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be loud for you to acknowledge that this is my victory and this is my accomplishment.
Mm. Mm.
They're not the type that people post on WhatsApp and say,
But
congratulations, Bimbo,
mm,
or on Instagram to say, yay, my body just achieved this, right? But there
yeah.
are victories and accomplishments and beautiful things that you achieve and do for yourself, right?
Mm, yeah.
Every day
Yeah.
and through time that are worthy of celebrating. Like you should celebrate them.
Yeah.
And that's what draws a lot of people back. Some
Mm.
people right now are thinking, I've not done so much for myself. But if you were really to tell them to drop a
To
list of the
break it
things they've
down,
been
tell
able to
me.
achieve, to
Mm-hmm.
really break it down into little, little ways, you'll be shocked, right?
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
that part of the journey to where you begin to think that because it's not the kind of thing that people announce on
People are
LinkedIn
posting. You didn't buy a
or somebody is
house,
posting
or
somewhere,
you.
but yay,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, just maybe it's not worthy.
Yeah.
It's not something. That is
Yeah.
the biggest scam you can scam yourself.
Yourself.
And that is you disrespecting. You are
Yeah.
disrespecting
And
yourself
being ungrateful as well, because
and being
just little
ungrateful. So
things.
please
Yeah.
don't do that. Don't
Yeah.
ever like do that. Like people need to learn that. Like me,
Yeah.
anything I achieve in this my life, I
Mm-hmm.
celebrate it in my. I'm like Alhamdulillah, Safi, you
Alhamdulillah.
are fantastic, and then I move on to do
That's
more
the
things.
spirit. That's the
That is the
spirit.
spirit. I don't care what anybody else has
And be
done.
your own
I mean,
high
what they have not
person.
done. Everybody will be fine.
Yeah. So, in fact, and the
Honestly.
thing is, what people are putting
Hey,
out there, that doesn't mean that that's the entirety of their reality, right? And people will always want to
exactly.
post
Everybody has.
only the positives, right? So just, I think,
Mhm.
again, Sophia, everything is just self-awareness, really, just being
It's
aware.
tied to
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is.
Mashallah. I'm having a great time. These conversations like this, that me, like, that's where you see me. But yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
me
Okay, let's move
too.
on. Let's move on. So we've been talking about, we've mentioned spirituality here and there. And for me, I
Mhm.
think, my spirituality is like the center of my life. Then every other thing, it
Yeah.
flows from there on. So
From there.
Alhamdulillah, we are Muslims, right? And I think
Alhamdulillah.
Islam is a holistic way of life. You literally have like a manual for almost like everything. It depends on what you're looking for, right? So
Hmm.
I would like to ask, is there as is there a correlation between your spiritual growth and your self growth or self awareness? Is there any correlation? Have you noticed any correlation? Or yeah.
Yes, yes, there is. There's a very strong correlation, a very strong relationship
Mm-hmm.
between how you're doing spiritually, between
Yeah.
your relationship with Allah and your relationship with every other thing in this life, even your relationship with yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, using very simple everyday examples is things like solar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And mindfulness, mindfulness of what you say to people, what you say
Mm-hmm.
about people. I learned a lot this most recent Ramadan that passed, Alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah.
and it
Mm-hmm.
really it really shaped a lot of the way I think about things and how conscious I am about doing certain things. And
Mm.
then you begin to realize that the quality of your life in entirety
Mm-hmm.
starts to improve. in a
Mm.
way that it's not that your bank account has suddenly tripled,
Changed, yeah.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
there is this feeling you are getting. There is this, even with yourself, you are at ease with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't mean you won't have challenges.
Of
It
course.
doesn't mean that you won't have struggles. Even
Mm-hmm.
till today, we all do. But
Yeah.
it just means that,
There's this
life is
piece,
more, yeah,
like there's this piece basically, like it's just
yeah,
they're better able to handle
there's
things.
this feeling you get when you pay attention to the things you're supposed to pay attention to.
Hmm.
You your relationship with Allah is really important. And I remember saying to someone some weeks back that if you don't fix that,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have that, if you don't have that sorted,
Mm-hmm.
you will struggle with every other thing
Every
in your
other
life,
thing.
and you
Preach
will
it.
never be satisfied. You will go to bed every day miserable. I have been there.
I have been
You
there
will
as
go to
well.
bed every day miserable. And I'm not even saying maybe because you've done some great thing, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
even the normal average good person. You go about your business, your daily business, you go to work, you come back,
Yeah.
you're not disturbing anybody's life.
Mm-hmm.
Even with that, right?
Yeah.
If you don't straighten up your relationship with Allah, you are just going to be. See, I don't care what kind of car you drive,
Mm-hmm.
what your job is, who you are at work, or how much they
Mm-hmm.
are paying you, how
Mm.
much you are making every month. If
Mm.
that part of your life is in shambles, if it's not something that you are paying attention to,
Them too.
you
Yeah.
will go to bed miserable every single day, and you will wake up feeling empty
Hmm.
every single morning of your
Yeah.
life.
Hmm.
That is
Hmm.
it. That is just it. So even if you are Mr. I'm all very disciplined, Mrs. Self growth on
Yeah.
point, you will still wake up in the morning feeling empty.
Hmm. A word and more.
That is it. That is all. That's all the answer I have for that question. All of it.
Ah, Subhanallah. It's so so true. Cause I mean, a couple of years back. No, why am I even saying a couple of years? So maybe like 2 years back, like 2 years. Like if you go backwards, I was so, I wouldn't say miserable, but I was, there was this, like I wasn't happy, like compared to, I don't know, it just felt like, when you're just distracted and you are just looking for one thing or the other and you don't even know what it is. And that was
Like something
because,
is missing.
yes,
Something is
and that,
off.
exactly. And I noticed, I had to sit myself down. I was like, what is it exactly? And I noticed that, my relationship with Allah wasn't stable. It wasn't even cutting it, like my baseline previously. It wasn't there. And
Mhm.
that was because, I mean, things, life happens, right? But you can always do more when it comes to Allah. You have to
Yeah.
prioritize. You have to prioritize. And I knew that, things needed to change. And I started working on that. And subhanallah, I'm not even going to lie. My life is so much better,
But,
calmer, you know, peaceful. Even if I
yeah.
don't have the whole, like, whatever, or I'm not where I want to be or
Everything.
whatever,
Or
which
you've
I
not even achieved
always,
all your goals in this
exactly.
life.
I'm just at
You're still
peace.
in a good place. You know
Exactly.
that. I mean,
There's
you're
hope,
just in a good place
right?
generally. You can be
Exactly.
better, oh, and you're obviously
Exactly.
working to be better, oh, but you're just in a good place.
Yeah, yeah. So what I'll just say is, please let's prioritize our relationship with Allah. Something kept coming to my head this morning as I finished my salah. It's like, when you prioritize Allah, when you prioritize, Jannah, no matter where you fall in in this dunya, you will always be successful, no matter what, as long as you prioritize, meeting Allah on the day of judgment, pleasing him, then you'll be
Right.
fine in this life.
Mhm.
That's just, it
You
just kept
will.
coming to me. It kept coming to me, and I was just like, you know what, this is just a word for me, like a reminder for me this morning. Yeah. May Allah assist
And
us.
let me add this,
Mhm.
Sakina.
Yeah.
At work, someone from work who I knew and we used to even talk passed
Mm-hmm.
on
Oh,
about a week ago,
wow.
right?
Wow.
He
Yeah.
was a Muslim. May Allah
Inna lillahi
forgive
wa
him.
inna ilaihi raji'un. I mean. Hmm.
And he came to work that morning by himself, right?
Wow. Please don't tell me he died
He
at work.
not at work, but he was being rushed to the hospital, but he didn't make it,
Subhanallah.
right? Something
Wow.
just happened randomly,
Mhm.
and that was it. And you know what? I found myself, it was as if I was this person's family member. I was
Hmm.
shocked, and I
Hmm.
kept praying. And in every salah, I
Mhm.
kept praying, Ya Allah, forgive me, Ya Allah. Like it was as if maybe it was somebody that was in my family, but then
Your
somebody doesn't
fam,
even have to be a family
your
member for you to
family.
want
Yeah.
to pray for them. He was a Muslim, right?
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
that incident made me think about a lot of things. It's the fact that you can wake up this morning and
Yeah.
everything that you are chasing in this life
Chasing, hustling.
becomes
Hmm.
useless to you.
Yeah.
And like that's just the end.
Yeah.
So see, that really, I mean, before then, yes, I had this level of, consciousness in a way, but that
Mhm.
at that point, yeah, I just said to myself, Safi, can you see? And it's not like maybe everybody stopped working, they closed
Mhm.
the
Of
office and
course.
said, please let's close down the business for today,
Continue.
blah blah
Hmm.
blah,
Hmm.
And that is how insignificant, maybe sorry to say or not sorry to say, but that's how insignificant we can be sometimes
Yes.
when we pass
Yes.
on.
Yes.
That's
You know,
how that's it. Your dreams, your car, your house. People already
everything.
say, oh, where's his car key?
Where's the car?
Things like
Yes.
that. It's no
Everything.
longer your car, it's no longer your house. So
Mm-hmm.
trust me.
It's so scary. It's so scary. So I was talking to someone and she was like, because I used to think the scariest part for me was, when someone dies, what happens. I've always been like, what
Hmm.
happens after, But she's like, the scariest part for me is when somebody dies, the way we all move on is
The way we
so
move on in two
like,
minutes,
as in that
you
even if the
don't
person
get.
is your spouse, as long as time is
Oh
passing, you
my
will
god.
move on. That's the scariest part for her. And I was like, coming to think about it, it's so true. So if you know what's good for you, just try as much as possible to just please your Lord. The person you're going back to meet,
Please
like
your Lord
that's just
first. Number one. Number one. Before yourself. Number
hmm.
one is Allah.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we can't even wake up and say, I know I'm Jannah material.
Yes,
Oh, if
so
I
may
die
Allah
right
elevate
now, I'm going
you.
to Jannah.
Hmm.
Nobody can ever say that. But then we should all just aim and try and do our
Yeah.
best. And sometimes
Yeah.
that's what Allah loves. The one
Yeah.
who continues to strive and struggle towards Him and
Yeah.
say, yeah, I just want to please you. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to please you. And I want to do everything I can in every way I can to please you, Ya Allah.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is more than enough every single day. That mindfulness and that consciousness
No.
is just what you need to keep going. And
Yeah.
by Allah's mercy, one can even grow from there and just
No.
become somebody entirely better from there
Better. Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And it all
Beyond your
rests with
wildest
Allah.
dream.
And then we,
No.
yes.
No.
So that's it, really.
May Allah make us inhabitants of Jannah. Like it's so it's just by His mercy, but we'll keep
Um,
striving. We'll do our part, and we pray
we'll
that He
keep
accepts it
doing
from us. All right,
it.
so we're going on. We're going on. So I know that you have, mashallah, you're a very talented person. You speak well. I know you are a poet,
Oh, thank
speaker
you, thank
and
you, thank
everything.
you, thank you.
And yeah, it's something that I really, really admire. When I say you're a celebrity now, but you were
Okay.
laughing, you said no, but yeah.
If you're
Yeah,
listening to this, kindly disregard that comment. Thank you very much.
so
Thank you very much.
So I know that you have various things that you do, right? And I'm just wondering because it's something I struggle with as well because I have varying interests, right? And I'm just wondering how are you able to juggle it all without feeling like a, should I say, Jill of all trades, like master of none? Because I know the world that we are today, there's
Yeah.
really no love for, like, maybe should I say generalists, or like
Yeah.
you don't get people who just want to like go specialist. You have to focus on one
Choose
thing and
your
all that. So
own. Yeah, and just
yeah,
do it.
and sometimes it kind of gets to me, and I know a couple of people as well that I speak to, and it's just, so how are you able to balance it all, or how are you able to deal with, do you have those thoughts sometimes, and how are you able to manage it?
Okay, so for me, the answer is I have to. I
Hmm.
have to combine it. I need to juggle it. And I'll tell you why.
Why?
Every single part of Sophia
Hmm.
is absolutely important. All the single parts, every part of me comes together to form who I am.
Yeah.
So the minute I begin to leave out any
Some
part,
part. Hmm.
I begin to lose some part of myself. And I'm
Hmm.
no longer myself,
You're no
right?
longer Sophia.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
I give an example. I'm an HR person and I love to write. I do podcasts. I love I love to go for exhibitions, art exhibitions and the rest. I love nature. I sometimes take pictures of really lovely things. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a photographer sometimes, I'm a poet, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And all of
Mm-hmm.
these things I like to say they give me life, right?
Hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
I do these things, they give me life. So the minute I stop to do them, it's not even they're just things that make me feel like I'm really doing what I love to do. So
Love
there's
to
the
do.
HR, which is nine
Mm-hmm.
to five, which I love that part of I love that that is my job, right?
Hmm.
And I get
Yeah.
paid for it,
For it.
right?
Yeah.
But there are other parts of me too that need to come alive.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to shut down really important parts of me
Hmm.
and then just focus. That's for me though, right?
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
focus on maybe something because that is what pays me, puts money in my account.
Your
Because
account.
I've come to realize that life is bigger than how much is going into my account. To be very
Mm-hmm.
honest, right? And
Mm-hmm.
my sense of fulfillment, my
Yeah.
sense of meaning, my happiness, my sense of satisfaction in life generally,
Mm-hmm.
it goes beyond I'm going to work and I'm getting paid at the end of the month. That
Hmm.
is so it's so
Busy.
systematic. It's so is you get it's like
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
well, that's what everybody has to do. Everybody has to work
Mm-hmm.
and make money. So what
Yeah.
else?
And you don't have to
What
be.
else
You
am
don't
I
have to
doing with
be
my
like
life?
that. Hmm.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
for me, I just have to juggle. At work, they know me when it's time to do voiceovers, for the brand, maybe branding stuff, the branding
Mm-hmm.
team, the comms team, they will call me, Asafi, our dearest voiceover artist in the house. If you want to do this voice,
So why
like they
you
literally know that Safi can do this,
can
she's
do
good
it?
at this and this and that. And then
Mm-hmm.
they engage me, and I appreciate that because
Yeah.
they're not trying to say, "Ah, sorry, oh, this is the one thing you're here to do," and that. So
Yeah.
that's why
And
it's important.
mm-hmm.
If you're
To
someone
show
who
up.
does different things,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's so
Yeah.
important to be in an environment that enables you to do
To show up as
everything
your
you
full
want to do
self. Yeah.
as your full self.
Yeah.
Nobody's telling you to shut down Safi the writer because you
Mm.
only want to know Safi the HR person.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking you to shut down Safi the HR person because they
Mm.
only want Safi the poet, right?
Yeah.
So I bring all of those are like pieces of me coming together to say this is who I am, this is my essence. It's
Yeah.
not something I can break down, just like maybe you want to lose a leg, you can't,
Compartmentalize. Mm.
or remove. It's not. It
Mm.
comes with the full. Now, sometimes I'm just happy the HR person.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm just happy the poet. Sometimes
Mm.
I'm just happy the writer, or sometimes I'm two or three of those things,
Yeah.
right? But at least I know I have the freedom to choose
Mm.
when I want to be who I want to be at any point in time, and I am not constricted. There's no external force making me not pay attention to other parts of myself that are equally as important to me,
Mm.
right? So for me, finally, I would just say it's a need. It's not even a I
You
cannot even
have to.
afford. I just have to.
No, you have no
Can't
option.
leave. I can't. There are parts of me I can't just neglect because it won't work.
Mm.
It's not going to work. So that's it for me, really. That's
Mm.
just it.
Mashallah. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. At least this, I'm sure anyone listening out there, that would encourage. So the last question, okay, second to last question, but I have a couple of 18 to 24-year-olds that listen to the podcast. And I think for everyone generally, right? What would be
hmm
one advice that you'd want to give, or tip or trick, whatever it is, something that you really want to share that you think is so important that, everyone listening should know?
So one thing that I would say that I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to pull out of my own life journey is this. We all have insecurities, or we had, or there's something inside of you that you feel it can be better, you know, you can do better and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever you want to achieve in life, in whatever part of your journey, whatever part of your life, it's important that you do a lot of soul searching and self searching. You do a lot of self audit. You do a lot of reflection within your own space. And it's really important that in the course of living life, you're able to go back a bit into your own space, your personal space by yourself,
Mm.
a space
Yeah.
where you are honest with yourself, a space where you construct, reconstruct, where it's constantly a work in progress. A
Mm.
place where you look at yourself in the mirror, internally and externally, and you ask yourself, how am I doing? And
Mm.
what role do I play in in doing better, being better, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. And I feel like in the whole rush of living, the whole
Yeah.
back and forth of living, just
Mm-hmm.
everybody's always in a hurry. I mean, Lagos is a typical example. People are
Yeah.
always in a hurry, like just driving, just wanting to jump and fly,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that's how life is. That's a very good example of what life is like.
Mm.
Everybody is just moving. You're just moving, and you're just moving until you're 60, until you're
Mm.
70, until you are 80,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of that, it's really important that you allow yourself, have a relationship with yourself and
Of-
constantly nurture that relationship. It
Mm.
is super essential. Of course, we've
Yeah.
already mentioned the relationship with Allah, which cannot be
Yeah.
overemphasized.
Yeah.
And then comes yourself.
Yourself. Yeah.
Very
Absolutely.
important. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely. Ah, this has been so good. So my very last question is: this is the Radiant Woman podcast, right? And we are all about living intentionally, purposefully. So, if you were going to describe what does living a radiant life mean to you in like a sentence or a word, if that's what you want.
to me, hmm, it means living a life that is worth something, a life that is meaningful and value driven in a
Hmm.
way that you are doing the best you can do for yourself and you're
Mm-hmm.
also doing for others, directly or indirectly,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
living your life to the best and to the fullest
Yes.
that you can, which
Hmm.
can be different levels, by the way. Sometimes it's low, sometimes it's high. That is
Mm-hmm.
fine. Just keep going, right? You're
Hmm.
doing that, and you are a form of inspiration to other people. People
Yeah.
look at you and they say to themselves, there's something to learn from this person. This person
Hmm.
is exemplary,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
most importantly, you look at yourself and you
Hmm.
say to yourself, this person is exemplary. And you
Hmm.
say to yourself, this is where I can do better. This is what I can be better at, right?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
nobody is perfect. So
Yeah.
that's what it means for me. You are doing the most you can do with the life that Allah has blessed you with,
Mm-hmm.
and you are inspiring other people to
Yeah.
want to do the same,
Mashallah.
right?
Hmm.
You're
Yeah.
like a movement on your own, like a force
Hmm.
on your own.
Hmm.
That is what it means for me.
Give
Yeah.
them. Give them. That's amazing. That is amazing.
That's what it means. That is it.
Barak.
That is it.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. Thank
Amazing.
you. Right. So
You're welcome.
we're done. So do you have anything you're working on that you want to share, and where can people connect with you if they would like to, reach out to you? I know I've had situations where people reach out and all that. So where would you like people to connect with
Yeah.
you? And yeah.
Okay, so I used to post a lot of videos talking about career life, career
Mm-hmm.
growth, and all of those. And people reach out to me a lot
Yeah.
individually.
Yeah.
Okay, Safee, I want to do HR. What do I do? Oh, I'm trying to change my job from this to this. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. like reach out to ask about
Yeah.
career related things. And I think that's one part that, I mean, quite a number of people don't have that guidance
Mm-hmm.
in that aspect. So
Yeah.
one of the things I'm really looking forward to is creating more content in that area, right?
Okay.
And also, inshallah, working with some professionals that I know across different sectors to say,
Mm-hmm.
you know, let's do something. Let's do sessions with
Yeah.
people. Let's organize probably virtual events where we can
Mm-hmm.
have people come and clarify, ask questions, and just share. Just shed light on some dark and gray areas for
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
Based on what we know and all of that. So that's what I'm really, really looking forward to doing before the
Fantastic.
year comes to an end. Something that I'm willing to
Inshallah.
really, you know,
Mm.
dive into. Yeah,
In-
and yeah, I'm Safee Peter on IG and Twitter. That's SAFEE underscore PETER. IG
mm-hmm.
and Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Sofiat Peter. Yeah, so
Peter.
those are the three places where you can find me.
Fantastic, fantastic. Barakallah
Yep.
fikum. I wish you all the best with that, and we are looking forward to
Um,
those
um,
content, inshallah. And of course,
Thank you.
you probably come on as well on many other things with me, inshallah,
Inshallah.
inshallah. All right,
Inshallah.
jazakumullah
It's
khairan.
been lovely.
Same here, same here. I feel so. These are the things that give me energy, right? So I feel so pumped
These are
and
the
energetic.
things.
Mashallah, it was lovely to speak to
Alhamdulillah.
you. It was lovely to speak to you, and thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge.
Thank you for
So
having me.
yeah, so I think we're gonna wrap it up now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
Okay.
wa
Walaikum
barakatuh.
salam warahmatullah wabarakatuh. Signing out. Bye, everybody. Bye,
Bye,
Sakima.
peace. I'm doing the peace sign.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Bye.